Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for a Symbiote Sector Incursions video. Now, there's going to be lots of stuff we're going to cover in this video. It's going to be tabbed up. There's going to be a link in the description if you want to go and check it out. This is kind of the visual and kind of the go-over portion with a little bit more context and information. I will just say right off the bat, this Incursions, it was not well put together. I think this is one of Kabam's worst Incursions they've ever put together. I think it's because they put spicy or more interesting things in the rewards. That's kind of the way that they've kind of done it. Either way, poor immunity node placements and the frequency that you require them in order to counter, we'll talk about that in a second. Basically, I went against an Immortal Abomination. I hadn't been able to build up a poison immunity, and all of a sudden I'm in a room, and right at the very end is a poison immune kind of like option, and it's like I'm scuppered. There's nothing I can do, and it cost me, and that sucked, and that's not good. That's not fair, and that's not fun at all. And something I was very much looking forward to is met with disappointment, which yeah, that's that. There's also, we're going to talk about this video, team synergies, building up summon symbiote and stuff like that. Obviously, the AI is absolutely trash, but what can you expect from Kabam and MCOC in general? But let's get into it, shall we? So first of all, also before and part of this intro is you might feel a little bit forced in your alliance to do the alliance event, or maybe you won't. You do have 20 days to do it, but at the end of the day, it is just a slog to do it. You have to get to zone 30 in order to have access to some of the rewards. But of course, that is a lot of pressure for everybody to do it in your alliance to actually climb up. So you may be like, yeah, I don't want to go any further. And I'm thinking about that as well, because I reached a point in this that I was not particularly happy with, and I did think it was quite unfair. I've also reached a situation where AI just completely scuffed me over. But anyway, let's just jump into the situation around rotations with the Summon Symbiote and some of the best ways to kind of play with the champion. So I'm going to try and do some live play right now and kind of talk through like my process of how I built up the champion. When you try to get, well, I've got synergy where I get bleeds. Why? Because we're going to see in a minute. I also have a nullify based situation. This is how I'm able to get as much regen. But I do like to do that heavy attack poison method. After doing a special attack, which we're going to do now, we can start leeching, power leeching. So you can see that I've just stolen all the power. There's a lot of things going on. It's difficult to kind of like give you a heads up of what exactly is happening because I'm doing there loads of light attacks to build up my regeneration. There is, after I turn a special attack, swiping back and doing power stealing. And as well, transferring over heavy attack that bleeds to poisons. So did you follow that? I'm hoping you did follow that. So what again, to kind of explain, I set up with placebos. Placebo is something I can add to the enemy, so therefore I'm nullifying it. I'll show you visually in a second, but I'm just kind of explaining it. And yeah, heavy attacks off the bleeds, transfer to poisons, very powerful poisons. And then what I'm doing over special attacks, I'm swiping back, loads of swipe, and I'm stealing the power from the enemy. So that's how I choose to play, but it's not everybody playing the same way. Not everybody's going to play the Summon Symbiote the same way, because you might build up over certain things. Because here's where choice comes in, right? You are focused in playing the Summon Symbiote as the main champion, and all the other ones are technically support champions in some sort of shape or form. So I decided to use the Summon Symbiote. I then chose to use Venom. The only reason that those are brought in is because whenever I crit, I get bleeds. Whenever I nullify, I get bleeds. So I'm ramping up damage over time debuffs. That, of course, plays into how I want to set up. It's not the only way that you can set up your team around the Summon Symbiote. You could, if you wanted to, add in, let's just go with block proficiency from Scream and regeneration from Venom the Duck. These two champions, which I'll just kind of like point out. So these two champions here, Scream and Venom the Duck, provide extra regeneration, which is very important. Probably, if I was to go back in time, I would definitely do Venom the Duck and Scream as being the team. But if you're looking to me, looking at what I've been doing, it's ultimately to try and give that extra switch from bleeds to to poisons, which is ramping up the amount of damage that you saw on screen. But I have to get a heavy attack in, and not every time is guaranteed that I can get a heavy attack in. You have to, again, to like look at what's going on. You can't use a relic with a summon symbiote, which is annoying. So you have to make do with the best situation. So that's the team and team options. And by the way, if you want to check out any of the stuff, there is tabbed at the bottom of the spreadsheet. There's tabs there, and I just kind of go over what I use, but it's not necessarily what you should use. It's like it's thinking about preparing, and of course preparing the summon symbiote and building the summon symbiote with pre-fights and hacks, which we're going to talk about right now. So the summon symbiote has lots of different abilities as part of the evolutions, whether it staggers, and then gets regeneration, whether it deals with evade, whether or not the poison helps to deal with that at the same time. I like doing that, infect, because I just think that it's really helpful in doing a larger amount of damage. There's also adapt, which is getting your fury buffs, which again is helpful, and especially if you've got something, say if there was like a buff cornucopia, or there was something that had a fury buff potency improvement, that's something you kind of like bend into and kind of amplify and exploit a bit. Leach, which is all about your power control, that's what we've seen in the footage just a moment ago. And we've got Enrage, reduces opponent's purify ability actually by 70%, and Annihilate, which is increased the potency chance of duration of all evolutions, which again is important, but it's kind of like a final amplification. I do look to put on Annihilate once, and that's the thing that you start off with. So if you don't know, when you start this off, you get 21 charges to spend, and you can choose them how you want to build out your summon symbiote. Then it's all about padding in hacks to this, and as much as these are great, which they are great by the way, these are my hacks. You can find this in the spreadsheet, by the way. I think we'll actually switch to... No, we won't. We'll keep with this because visually this looks better. So you can see I'm doing Fury Boost because of Adapt. I've also got things like Strong Arms, which is block proficiency, and Core Strength. I did find the further that I went into the zones, I needed it more because the chip damage is not exactly nice, and I wasn't finding I was regenning enough back. So that is probably something, the further I go, I'll be looking to kind of like pinpoint on. There's also other things, which is like, okay, I do damaging effects. Damaging effect, upgrade, okay. Effect, reinforcement, regeneration, or regeneration effects are upped. Again, because I regen, that's that. We've then got attack enhancement heavy. I'm doing heavy attacks. Whenever I can, I'm grabbing the heal boost, going the left-hand side. There's debuff count, which again helps to damage my damage ratio, and also medium attacks. But that, again, was just because I only had that option to choose. Okay, so that's how I chose to kind of like build out the summon symbiote. I've put more details of that and things to kind of watch out for in the pre-fight. I'm going to call it pre-fight and hack build structure. I'll call it just a build structure. Let's just actually do that now before I forget. Build structure. And I kind of put points there on things like why leech is important, debuff surge, grit boost, and all the other kind of immunities. So what I would also say that becomes a bit of a problem is different nodes and different bosses and preparing your summon symbiote for it. Kabam, I don't think I've done a very good job with this, so it's my warning. This is kind of like my final warning to you on how to prepare for what may come. You may not experience this. I did. There are other people in this community that I've read on Discord that have experienced this, and preparing for this is tough. Immunities, okay? So the final point is immunities or counters. I decided to put in true set. Every room I seemed to go in, there was like something new. So one of the first rooms was Human Torch. Okay, I'll get an immunity ready for that one. And I think just in time, I was able to get Incinerate / Shock. Great. Have I found anyone that's Shock immune or Incinerate immune after that point? Or an Incinerate and Shock champion? No. No, I haven't, which seems like an absolute cop-out. Then I decided that I needed to get True Sense to counter auto block and miss. I think it was only once I actually needed it. Then I got the grit boost because for 3 times in a row in rooms, actually no, maybe 4, I had an unstoppable champion that I needed to counter as part of a desperate thing. And since those rooms, have I seen them? No. This is the tricksy thing, and this is why I think Kabam have not developed this well enough, is that the ability to grab some of these is not there. And if you are going into future rooms, my recommendation for you early on, or whenever you get a chance, is grab the immunities. And that again is like a 50-50 chance that you will not face any of the champions like I did, where I was against an Immortal Abomination and I couldn't get through it. I just couldn't without using revives and health potions. So look at your unit stash as well and be prepared that you could find those situations. But yeah, hopefully this sets you up in the best way possible. You can follow my method. Again, to kind of repeat the method, it was the hit out with doing loads of bleeds, then do heavy attacks to change them to poisons. I then, off of the SP1, look to power control. And then finally, I am doing light attacks in order to get regeneration. So I've got the element of doing damage, utility elements of power control, and survivability from regeneration. I think I said that right in the right order. If not, it was meant to be poison damage and also evades. Yeah, those three things. Those are my key elements. The poison damage, the power control, and the regeneration. Survivability, sustainability, and damage. I think we're good there. Okay, you can check out the link in the description. But of course, hit the like button. Are you doing this at the moment? Have you had a situation where like you have met something that you just can't get through? Let me know in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. Check out some other content, and I'll see you all soon. Have a lovely day, and goodbye.